This isn't a question of who you should vote for. This is a question of whether the president right now is capable of serving. First up, though, is what I think to be the constitutional national security crisis of President Biden's fitness for office. And a series of events and interviews videos have emerged documenting Joe Biden's cognitive challenges. I don't know how else to describe it. And what's happening in response to that is the Biden White House and their partisan left-wing allies in the media are telling us not to believe our eyes. And one of the more disturbing indications of this problem that Biden has occurred at a major fundraiser he participated in with President Obama out in Los Angeles. They raised, I think, $30 million. So it was a big fundraiser for them. Jimmy Kimmel interviewed them. And Biden had a freeze up on the stage. And I talk about it in this video I posted to Instagram the other day.
Well, here we are, another Biden moment. Freezes. Obama, they're at a fundraiser in Los Angeles, by the way. Obama grabs his arm, escorts him off the stage, pushes him off the stage, really, right? Further disturbing evidence of Biden's cognitive decline raises questions about his fitness for office, let alone running for election. I'm worried, he's not fit to serve another day. Watch it again. There you go. Freezing. Obama grabs his arm. What must our friends think? What must our enemies think? At America's weakened state as a result of Biden's cognitive issues. Share your thoughts below.
And they're telling us we should just ignore that. And Obama was just impatient. I don't know about you, but the idea that someone in that situation would freeze as he listens to the audience applaud as if he's not the subject of the applause. And those of you who are men, have you ever grabbed another man by the forearm to get him to come with you? You might do that for a disabled friend or disabled relative. And so there are two ways of interpreting what Obama did there. One way is that he was just announcing to the world that Biden's not fit, and he purposely was treating him like that. Or he just recognized someone having a disability situation, to put it charitably, and he went to help him. No matter how you slice it, it's not good for President Biden. And so this is fed into public concern about his cognitive difficulties. And the White House is now just telling us to believe them rather than our lying eyes. And I sat and watched for Instagram the other day, the White House spokesman try to explain the way what everyone sees as reality.
American voters who are telling pollsters repeatedly for years now that they have serious concerns about this president's cognitive fitness are being misled by cheap fake videos? Is that
I'm saying that there have been, in recent weeks, there have been cheap fake videos that have been fact-checked. They've been fact-checked by conservative media as well, to say that these videos are false. They're purposefully being altered.
So he's
that
fine.
is,
So he's
that
fine.
is, look,
He's fine.
the president has done more in his 3.5 years as president than most modern day president. I think that tells you everything that you need to do by looking at his record. And what you're seeing right now is Republicans, instead of talking what I just listed about, what I just talked about, they're really diving into these cheap fake videos. And it's in bad faith. That's what I'm saying. What they're doing is pure bad faith, and it's been fact.
The only cheap fake videos I see are the videos that news media are putting out of White House press conferences. What videos have been fact-checked in a way that's credible? I mean, there's that video, I don't know, I don't think we can pull it up so quickly, but that video of him with the G7 leaders, and there's a parachute team landing, and everyone's looking one way. He goes off and starts talking supposedly to someone else completely away from the group, out of it. And one of the leaders, I think it was the Italian prime minister, basically had to go grab him and bring him back. And they're saying, well, he was, you know, he was right to be distracted. It was perfectly normal. No one looking at that, or few people looking at it, who are being, you know, other than dishonest partisans and employees of Joe Biden, see it as anything other than, you know, an old guy with failing memory and cognitive difficulties wandering off. And I tell you, if it were a Republican president, a conservative president, President Trump, I mean, Ronald Reagan, they wanted to remove for supposed cognitive issues almost immediately upon his coming into office. And this is what I would be doing. And I've been trying to educate people on this, because to me this is a government corruption issue. Because if government officials are lying about the mental health, the mental status of the President of the United States, that's a government corruption issue. And if it were a Republican president, this is what would happen. You would have a media firestorm of pressure directed at the vice president and the cabinet to exercise their prerogatives under the 25th Amendment. You would have multiple hearings in Congress exploring the 25th Amendment as it relates to the president's cognitive difficulties. And it would just be a political firestorm. Whether it would result in the removal of the president under the 25th Amendment, I don't know if that would necessarily happen even with a Republican. But what I think ought to happen is members of this cabinet and the Vice President, Kamala Harris, should be asked questions about President Biden's cognitive challenges. Has he taken a cognitive exam? They're widely available, easy to administer. Doctors can do it. And his doctor, who's a buddy of Biden, has refused to give him such an exam. He's over 80 and he hasn't had a cognitive exam? Why not? If I were the vice president, if I were in the cabinet, I'd be saying, Mr. President, we've got concerns by the American people about your state. So we want you to reassure us reassure us, because we've got this responsibility under the Constitution to take steps if there are issues. So reassure us, take a cognitive exam. Or what other exam would be required? Because it may not be necessarily dementia, it could be Parkinson's. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. But we're human beings. We've been around people, many Americans have, seen family members, friends and such, who lose their cognitive abilities as they've gotten older. And I think it's a national security issue, and I think it's a governance issue. It's a constitutional issue. And what happens under the 25th Amendment? This is the way it currently works. So under the 25th Amendment, if there's a cognitive issue, if there's a disability that prevents the president from exercising and fulfilling his duties, one way, there are several ways, but the one way is, assuming President Biden doesn't want to do it voluntarily, basically say, I am disabled, the vice president and the majority of the cabinet can find him to be disabled. He's taken out of office for a period of time. The findings sent to Congress, and if Biden wants to battle it, I think he's put back into office under the 25th Amendment, and then it's up to Congress by votes of 2/3 in both bodies to decide whether he's able to serve. So that's the process. So there are a lot of checks in place. It doesn't necessarily mean that there will never be abuse, but to ensure that it's going to be more difficult to abuse that process where someone just wants to engage in a political coup against the president using this disability issue. It's hard to get it done over the objections of a president unless there's strong support in Congress from both parties. It's necessarily bipartisan, the concerns would have to be. And that's the process. And that's what we should be talking about. This isn't a question of who you should vote for. This is a question of whether the president right now is capable of serving. And I think it's an open question. If I concluded that he can't serve, I don't know. I think we need more information from disinterested parties, physicians and others. You know, are people around Biden going to say the emperor has no clothes? No, not without political pressure and accountability. And I think that should be brought to bear. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like our video down below.